What's going on, everybody? It is Monday, and you know what we do on Mondays? On Mondays, all roads lead to book club, and we are super excited. We can't be more excited because we have been waiting. We just finished Think and Grow Rich together, and it was a rich read. If your life does not change after reading that book with us, I don't know what's going to help you to change. I don't know, maybe like you need to get like a baseball bat over the head or something like that. I don't know. But we are now getting ready to start The Mountain Is You by Brianna Weist. The Mountain Is You. And so as you're logging on, you know what to do. Let me know what city, what state, and or what country you might be logging in from. TikTok, YouTube. And if you're live with me or you're watching the replay, right? Hit a 1 in the comments if you're watching this live. And then if you happen to come back to watch the replay, we want you to hit a 2. Hit a 1 in the comments if you're watching us live so that we know that you're watching us live. We want to vibe with you, lean with you, rock with your L, right? As you can see, I'm super duper excited. Now, many of you may not understand why is book club so important. Well, book club is so important because you cannot pour from an empty cup. You just can't. And I am here today to fill your cup. That is what this 1 hour of personal development and growth is about. Number 2, leaders are readers. All right. Number 2, leaders are readers. And if you desire to see your income grow in any capacity, we are never going to earn more than we learn. So book club is so important. What's up, Shay? What's up, Miss Jermaine, Cheryl, Tedra, Monica, Bridget, Crystal? I see you all logging on. We got Georgia in the house. We've got Austin, Texas with us, you guys. We got Philadelphia with us. And let me know, TikTok, where are you logging in from? Now, the more you tap that screen, especially on TikTok, and the more people you invite, you want to send this link out to other people and share. Okay, because the reality of it is you don't want to do this by yourself, because what's going to happen is if you're the only one in your circle growing, it is going to force you at some point to elevate past the people that you love spending time with. Hey, Los Angeles is on the live. Louisiana is with us. You guys, listen, you don't want to have to walk this journey alone, right? So the more people that you have growing and learning with you, the better your circle is going to be, and you will be able to elevate all at the same time. And so I told you guys, you don't even need the book. We're going to kind of go over with this book, The Mountain Is You, is about transforming self-sabotage into self-mastery. Is there anybody that could get excited about transforming self-sabotage into self-mastery? I am not here to motivate you. Let me say that again. I am not here to motivate you. Motivation is something that has to be internal, okay? I am here to inspire you. I can inspire you, but motivation has to be something you do for yourself. Because if someone has to always motivate you, you're going to have to be motivated at all times for the rest of your life. So I am not here to motivate you. I am not here to hype you up. I am here to help you to define in your life what could be the problem that you are allowing self-sabotage to sabotage your life, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. Now, as we're getting started, you know what we do. We take our time. We read this book. We break it down. And we're going to be able to walk through this book together. You know what we need you to do, right? There's some famous hashtags that we need you to use in the comments. If you are on TikTok and or YouTube, please make sure that you are using these hashtags in the comment. Hashtag booktube, hashtag goodreads, and hashtag book talk. All right. Use those. If you're on TikTok, I need you to do me a favor, because you're going to get an hour of free personal training and development for free with this book, with our book club. I need you to hashtag book talk, hashtag goodreads, and hashtag booktube. All right, you guys, if you're on YouTube, you see it right there. So let's get into it. All right, The Mountain Is You, the ultimate seeker's guide for those who are brave enough to face their true north and take their power back. Who's ready to take their power back? By Brianna Weiss, The Introduction to The Mountain is You. Much like nature, life is very often working in our favor, even when it seems like we're only being faced with adversity, discomfort, and change. As forest fires are essential to the ecology of the environment, opening new seeds that require heat to sprout and rebuild a population of trees. Our minds also go through periodic episodes of positive disintegration or a cleansing through which we release and renew our self concept. We know that nature is most fertile and expansive at its perimeters where the climates meet, and we also transform when we reach our edge states. So, what does that mean? We only transform once we've been pushed to the edge. There's a song that we used to sing or that we used to hear back in the day. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose myself. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under, right? It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. So I want you to listen. See, those words, you guys, they were prophesying to you back then. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. But you only grow through adversity by being pushed to the edge. That is because, Maisha, how you doing, sunshine? That is because what happens is we limit our capacity. Because here's the deal, when you're in the gym and it begins to hurt, most people stop. When you're in the gym and you think that you can only lift 20 pounds or 15 pounds, you stop. Because we only like to do what's comfortable for us. All right? So this says we also transform when we reach our edge states, the points at which we are forced to step out of our comfort zones and regroup. Everybody type in the word regroup. Type in the word regroup in the chat. Because here's the deal. All you got to do is gather yourself. Regroup when it gets tough. Regroup when it feels uncertain. Regroup. Type in the words regroup on TikTok, on YouTube. Type in the words regroup. Now, when we can no longer rely on our coping mechanisms, to help distract us from the problems in our lives, it can feel as though we've hit rock bottom. So you feel like you're in this uncertain place. There's another song that we used to sing. How can we sing when we're in a strange land? How can we face adversity? And I mean, the song literally. And I remember when I was younger, used to sing that song. How can we sing when we're in a strange land? Right? And here's the deal. It's because you feel like you're in a strange land. But it's not that you're in a strange land, Sharice. What's happening is you are now your coping mechanisms are being removed from you in order for you to go. So what's happening is, and I watch more adults do this than none, right? Is when it gets tough and we are required to elevate. A lot of people get mad and they want their binky back. So what's happening is the binky or the pacifier is being snatched out of your mouth. You're being taken off the breast. You got to actually choose some real meat now. And what's happening is more adults do it than none. They throw a hissy fit because life is tough and it is requiring you to let go of the pacifier or the blankie. Bridget, I got one amen. I got one amen on YouTube. I got one amen on YouTube. So when we can no longer rely on our coping mechanisms, food, addictions, coping mechanisms, the blankie, coping mechanisms. As long as everyone is telling us how wonderful we are, coping mechanisms. But the moment that our flaws are beginning to be exposed, because we've spent so many years, and I'm going to keep it professional, I'm going to keep it responsible. We've spent so many years under condemnation. Uh-oh. Can I get a whoop whoop? We've spent so many years under condemnation and not being able to really be who we really are because of other sectors that we've been involved in. We now what happens when our flaws are exposed, we're prideful or shameful because we don't want anybody to know that these things are taking place or these flaws are happening in our lives, as if all of us don't have something, as if all of us don't have an area where, as if all of us don't have some stuff that stink, as if all of us don't have a separate kind of limp. My limp is not your limp. My skeleton is not your skeleton, but we all have them. All right, you guys? So the reality is that this sort of awakening is what happens when we finally come to terms with the problems that have existed for a long time. Is there anybody, including me, is there anybody that's ready to come to terms with the problems that have existed for a long time? That is the only way that we are going to be able to elevate. The breakdown is often just a tipping point that precedes the breakthrough, the moment a star implodes before it becomes a supernova. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. It might hurt a little bit, but last I checked, when I had my children, all 4 of them, and I actually had 2 miscarriages, when I had my children, it didn't feel good. And it actually hurt more. It actually ended up hurting more the closer that I got to being ready to push them out. So right when the birthing was getting ready to take place, that is when it hurt more or most. Just as a mountain is formed when 2 sections of the ground are forced against one another. Let me say that again. Mountains didn't just, you guys just didn't appear. Mountains are formed when 2 sections of the ground are forced against each other, against one another. Your mountain will arise out of coexisting but conflicting needs. Your mountain requires you to reconcile 2 parts of you. I don't know if y'all y'all might not come back next week. Y'all, TikTok, are y'all coming back next week? Because I don't know if YouTube, TikTok, I just need to know, are y'all coming back next week? Because I don't know if YouTube is going to come back next week. YouTube, I don't know, are y'all coming back next week? Because I don't know if TikTok's going to come back next week, because this is fitting to be. Thank you very much. I got some love on TikTok. I got a home run over there, okay? Y'all, your mountain requires you to reconcile. 2 parts of you, your conscious and your unconscious. The part of you that is aware of what you want and the part of you that is not aware of why you are still holding yourself back. Oh my gosh. Historically, mountains have been used as metaphors for spiritual awakenings, journeys of personal growth, and of course, insurmountable challenges that seem impossible to overcome when we are standing at the bottom. Like so much of nature, mountains provide us with an inherent wisdom about what it will take to rise up to our highest potential. I don't know about you, but I am ready to rise up to my highest potential. And if this is resonating with you, I need y'all to drop some flames in the chat. TikTok, I need y'all to tap that screen over there. Now listen, the objective of being human is to grow. You guys, anything that is not growing is dead. It's really almost getting ready to bring me to tears, because, you know, while we were outside cleaning up the patio, the deck, because it's getting nice outside. And when it's getting nice outside, Dr. Dunn, and when people come and hang out with us and we want to go sit out on the deck, I like it to be beautiful back there. I like the plants budding and the flowers, you know, blooming. I brought some beautiful foliage today, and I was out there watering my plants, and we were blowing the dead leaves off the deck. And what we threw away were some pots. They weren't good pots, don't worry, to all of my plant growers. We were throwing away some pots because everything in it was dead. Anything dead belongs in the trash or in the grave. And if we refuse to grow because it's uncomfortable, you might as well roll over and die and unlive. Unlive for TikTok. So we see this reflected back to us to us in every part of life. Species reproduce. DNA evolves to eliminate certain strands and develop new ones. And the edges of the universe are expanding forever outward. Likewise, our ability to feel the depth and beauty of life is capable of expanding forward, inward, if we're willing to take our problems and see them as catalyst. Boom! So we no longer have problems when things are arising in our lives. They are catalysts to get us from where we are to where we desire to be. All right? Expanding forever inward and taking our problems as catalysts. Forests need fire to do this. Volcanoes need implosions. Stars need collapse. And human beings often need to be faced with no other option but to change before they really do. When there's no other option, that is exactly why there was a song that we used to sing, a change has come over me, right? He changed my life and now I'm free. And I'm thinking, there's only a time, only when we change can we get free. We're in bondage when we refuse to change. Bondage. Because you know what? What we're doing is we're sitting around now rehearsing and we're fighting our conscious and our subconscious. To have a mountain in front of you does not mean that you are fundamentally broken in some way. Everything in nature is imperfect. And it is because of that imperfection that growth is possible. Type into the chat, it's possible. I need everybody to type into the chat, it's possible. And it is because of that imperfection that growth is possible. If everything existed in uniformity, the gravity that created the stars and the planets and everything that we know would not exist. Without breaks, faults, and gaps, nothing could grow and nothing would become. Without the Wright brothers failing almost 2,000 times. Without the Wright brothers failing almost 2,000 times, we wouldn't have Spirit, Frontier, Delta, American, Alaska Airlines, right? Southwest. If they hadn't have failed all of those times, it did not make them a failure. And what's happening is you're wearing failure as you are the failure. You are not the failure, but imperfect is the only way that we grow. It is possible. The fact that you are imperfect is not a sign that you have failed. It is a sign that you are human. Go ahead and type in the chat, I'm human. And more importantly, it is a sign that you still have more potential within you. I'm human. Let's go. Come on. This is to empower you right now. Stop focusing on where you failed. I'm human. It's possible. Maybe you know what your mountain is. Maybe it's addiction. Maybe it's weight. Maybe it's relationships. Maybe it's your jobs. Maybe it's motivation or money. Maybe you don't know what your mountain is. Maybe it's a vague sense of anxiety, low self-esteem, fear, or general discontentment that seems to bleed out onto everything else. The mountain is often less a challenge in front of us as it is a problem within us. An unstable foundation that might not seem evident on the surface, but is nonetheless shifting almost every part of our lives. Usually, when we have a problem that is circumstantial, we are facing the reality of life. When we have a problem that is chronic, we are facing the reality of ourselves. We often think that to face a mountain means to face life's hardship. But the truth is that it is almost always because of the years that we have spent accumulating tiny traumas, adaptations, and coping mechanisms, all of which have compounded over time. So, when we develop these coping mechanisms, you know what happens, you guys? We allow ourselves to be tolerated by others and not celebrated. Because when we're around other people and we don't really want them to know who we really are, they're tolerating us because they don't even know who the real you is. What if you really, really, really were who you really are? What if that ain't really your circle? Or the job you belong on? Or the churches you're supposed to go to? Or any other facet of your life? Your mountain is the block between you and the life you want to live. Oh my gosh. Your mountain, let me say that again. Type this one in the chat for me, Paul. Your mountain is the block between you and the life you want to live. You got to say, my mountain is the block between me and the life I want to live. Make it personal. TikTok, make it personal. YouTube, make it personal. My mountain is the block between me and the life that I want to live. Facing it is also the only path to your freedom and becoming. You are here because a trigger showed you to your wound, and your wound will show you to your path, and your path will show you to your destiny. When you arrive at this breaking point, the foot of the mountain, the heat of the fire, the night that finally wakes you, you are at the crux of the breakdown. And if you are willing to do the work, you will find that it is the entryway to the breakthrough you have spent your entire life waiting for. Woo! This is just the introduction. Can y'all imagine what this book is going to like? This is the introduction. Y'all, type in breakthrough. If you're really, really ready for a breakthrough, this book and identifying your mountain is going to be the entryway to the breakthrough you've spent your entire life waiting for. Your old self can no longer sustain the life you are trying to lead. It is time for reinvention and rebirth. Y'all, this is the introduction. Jab, jab, uppercut. Your old self can no longer sustain the life you are trying to lead. Who you were last week, who you were last month, who you were last year. You know what really, really, really disturbs me, Paul? To all of you out there listening to you on TikTok, is when people say things like, yeah, I mean, that's the way that's the way I always did it. And that's the way, well, good. And that's exactly why you're where you are right now. Because you refuse to do something different. Because it's who you used to be. And it's what I used to do. And like we do it with this attitude. Like, and ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do or who to be. Oh, okay. Then you must be the millionaire you want to be already. Because ultimately, if we do not have what it is that we desire in life, it's because there's something internally wrong with us. That doesn't make you a bad person. Nobody's here to call you a bad person. But the book says your old life, your old self can no longer sustain the life you're trying to lead. It's time for reinvention and rebirth. You must relate your old self into the fire of your vision and be willing to think in a way you never have You have never even tried to before. You know, Paul and I couldn't understand why in the world we had to pick up and leave where we were around everything and everyone we knew. It was comfortable. Paul could go to work with his eyes closed. It was comfortable. He could do his job every single day with his eyes closed. He could probably get there every day with his eyes closed. He knew the steps so well. And what I'm here to tell you is if you are at that place in your life where it's like the Groundhog Day, and you're scared because you're in your 50s, you're scared because you're getting up there and you're in your 60s when life just began at 40 or 50. You must mourn the loss of your younger self, the person who has gotten you this far, but who is no longer equipped to carry you onward. You must envision and become one with your future self, the hero of your life that is going to lead you from here. The task in front of you is silent, it's simple, and it's monumental. It is a feat most do not ever get to the point of attempting. You must now learn agility. You must now learn resilience and self understanding. You must change completely, never to be the same again. The mountain stands in front of you, is the calling of your life, your purpose for being here, and your path finally made clear. One day, this mountain will be behind you, but who you become in the process of getting over it will stay with you always. In the end, it is not the mountain that you must master, but it's you. The introduction to the mountain is you. I mean, for real, we don't really even need to go no further, but we are. TikTok, are you loving this or not? Oh my goodness. Y'all could just sit your phone down on TikTok and listen up, right? Oh, this was the mic. That was the mic drop. The mountain is you. There is nothing holding you back in life more than yourself. We're at chapter 1. If there is an ongoing gap between where you are and where you want to be, and your efforts to close it are consistently met with your own resistance, pain, and discomfort, self-sabotage is almost always at work. On the surface, self-sabotage seems masochistic. You know what I mean? It appears to be a product of self-hatred, low confidence, or a lack of willpower. In reality, self-sabotage is simply the presence of an unconscious need that is being fulfilled by the self-sabotaging behavior. To overcome this, we must go through a process of deep psychological excavation. We must pinpoint the traumatic event or events, release unprocessed emotions, find healthier ways to meet our needs, reinvent our self-image, and develop principles such as emotional intelligence and resilience. It is no small task, and yet it is the work that all of us must do at one point or another. Self-sabotage is not always obvious at the onset. When Carl Jung was a child, he fell on the ground in school and hit his head. When he got hurt, he thought to himself, yes, maybe I won't have to go back to school won't have to go back to school now. Though he is known today for his insightful body of work, he actually didn't like school or fit in well with his peers. Shortly after his accident, Jung began experiencing sporadic and uncontrollable fainting spells. He unconsciously developed what would be called a neurosis and ultimately came to realize that all neuroses are substitute for legitimate suffering. In Jung's case, he made an unconscious association between fainting and getting out of school. He came to believe that the fainting spells were a manifestation of his unconscious desire to get out of class, where he felt uncomfortable and unhappy. Well, this is powerful. Likewise, for so many people, their fears and attachments are very often just symptoms of deeper issues for which they do not have any better way to cope. Self-sabotage is a coping mechanism. So, like our daughter, she likes to go to the nurse a lot to get out of class because she just doesn't like school. But self-sabotage is a coping mechanism. Self-sabotage is what happens when we refuse to consciously meet our innermost needs, often because we do not believe we are capable of handling them. Sometimes we sabotage our relationships because what we really want is to find ourselves, though we are afraid to be alone. Sometimes we sabotage our professional success because what we really want is to create art, even if it will make us seem less ambitious by society's measures. Sometimes we sabotage our healing journey by psychoanalyzing our feelings because doing so ensures that we avoid actually experiencing them. Sometimes we sabotage our self talk because if we believed in ourselves, we'd feel free to get back out into the world and take risks, and that would leave us vulnerable. In the end of sabotage is very often just a maladaptive coping mechanism, a way that we give ourselves what we need without having to actually address what the need is. But like any coping mechanism, it is just that, a way to cope. It's not an answer, it's not a solution, and it does not ever truly solve the problem. We were merely numbing our desires and giving ourselves a little taste of temporary relief. Self sabotage comes from irrational fear. Sometimes our most sabotaging behaviors are really the result of long held and unexamined fears we have about the world and ourselves. Perhaps it is the idea that you are unintelligent, unattractive, or disliked. Perhaps it is the idea of losing a job, taking an elevator, or committing to a relationship. In other cases, it can be more abstract, such as the concept of someone coming to get you, violating your boundaries, getting caught, or being wrongly accused. These beliefs become attachments over time. For most people, the abstract fear is really a representation of a legitimate fear because it would be too scary to actually dwell on the real fear. We project those feelings onto issues or circumstances that are less likely to occur. If the situation has an extremely low likelihood of becoming reality, it therefore becomes a safe thing to worry about because subconsciously we already know that it isn't going to happen. Therefore, we have an avenue to express our feelings without actually endangering ourselves. For example, if you are someone who is deeply afraid of being a passenger in a car, maybe your real fear is the loss of control or the idea that someone or something else is controlling your life. Perhaps the fear is of moving forward, and the moving car is simply a representation of that. I just got a revelation while I was reading. There are a lot of people who are afraid of entrepreneurship. And I'm going to tell you why. When you go to a regular job, you go to that job, you go do your 8 10 or 12 hours, and you leave. Nobody really has to know the real you. You go to work, you perform whatever tasks they ask you to perform, they pay you what they tell you you're worth, and then you go home. Most people don't have to take their work home with them. Educators do, right? They got to take pet tests to grade and things like that. But when you become an entrepreneur, and in your entrepreneurship, you end up having to evolve, become, be authentic, transparent, and all of the above. So now, when it comes to like having to be in biz, like outside of just going to a job and being who you are at work, once you come out of that, it's like, wait a minute. This I don't know. I don't like this feeling because nobody has to know who I really am at work. I can be I can be whomever I display at work, and they will not know anything but what I display. Which is why a whole lot of people don't want to show themselves on social media, because they don't really want anyone to know. See, because anybody can learn a skill set and do that same skill set every single day at a job all day, every day, and appear to excel. But when you come out of that skill set that you get paid for, and you have to now show a different side of you, and if you're not versed or you're not the expert in that particular area of your life, you don't want the world to see it because you get celebrated and paid for being mediocre. I don't know who that was for, but that was a revelation that I was getting while we were reading the last paragraph. The mountain is you. Woo-wee. For example, so if you were aware, of the real, just say ouchalosia. Woo! If you were aware of the real issue, you could begin working to resolve it, perhaps by identifying the ways that you are giving up your power or being too passive. However, if you aren't aware of the real problems, you'll continue to spend your time trying to convince yourself to not be triggered and anxious while riding in the car, and find that it only gets worse. If you try to fix the problem on the surface, you will always come up against a wall. This is because you're trying to rip off the bandage before you have a strategy to heal the wound. Self-sabotage comes from unconscious negative associations. Self-sabotage is also one of the first signs that your inner narrative is outdated, limiting, or simply incorrect. Whoa! Hold on. It's not me, y'all. I'm just reading the book. I'm just reading the book. Paul said he's gonna hide the book. I don't hate the messenger. Okay? Hate the message. So it says self-sabotage. TikTok, y'all there, is also one of the first signs that your inner narrative, what we think about ourselves, is outdated, it's limiting, or is simply incorrect. Well, but I made six figures at my job. I mean, I made self-sabotage. So what we made? So what? I made 500,000 in one company, and so what? So what? Why would I limit myself to earning millions? So you made 50,000. So you made 75,000. So what? Self-sabotage is one of the first signs that your inner narrative is outdated, limiting, or simply incorrect. Ours. This is for us. Your life is, but I'm reading the book. is defined not only by what you think about it, but also what you think of yourself. Do we realize I'm not in the book? Do you realize, or do we realize that what we think about ourselves don't matter? Like, because if we believe that we're like the be all, the end all, guess what? In many cases, we could never get better because we think we've already arrived, which is why a lot of people won't read a book on their own. They'll play the personal development, but they're not really listening to it. It's just playing. I told my team, and I can always tell when they're doing it. I picked a group of people that I gave them a special assignment. I told them to listen to this particular meditation at night. And what's so crazy is I can tell which people are still listening to this meditation. I can tell based on their results. Because I knew that if they could at least do it for 30 days straight. Now, I said 90 days, but I knew that after 30 days straight, that we would begin to see some different results. I shouldn't have to tell you, if you say you want change, I shouldn't have to tell you every other couple of days you still listening to that meditation. Because motivation is crap. You should be motivated. If you've not hit, you know why most people don't worry about motivation? Because we say things like, well, if you haven't hit the goals or whatever it is that you desire in life, you should be motivated. That's because you didn't motivate yourself. You can't motivate yourself because you haven't even written down a goal. So you don't even know what your goal is. You don't know where you're headed. So there's nothing to motivate you because there's nothing on paper. Let me just go right back to this book right here. It says your self-concept is an idea that you have spent your whole life building. It was created by piecing together inputs and influences from those around you. What your parents believed, what your peers thought, what became self-evident through personal experience, and so on. Your self-image is difficult to adjust, because your brain's confirmation bias works to affirm your pre-existing beliefs about yourself. So it's hard to change because you believe last year's report, even though the stats may not have changed. You trying to operate off of last year's stats or the years before stats. And this is saying it's based on you're affirming yourself off of pre-existing beliefs about yourself. When we self-sabotage, it is often because we have a negative association between achieving the goal that we aspire to and being the kind of person who has or does that thing. So now we're fighting internally between the goal we say we want and the person that we have to become in order to achieve that goal. Because if we could have this goal based on who we are, we'd already have it. Duh. Why don't we have this goal? Why haven't I lost 50 pounds? Because there's something still going on with this person over here. And most people, let's just say they had a goal of 100 pounds. Let them lose 30 pounds of the 100 and they celebrating. The thing we got to discuss is the dash. I said that when I was speaking. So here's the goal. Here are you. Dash, the line in between. Woo! And there's that line. You're allowing that to be a subtraction sign, a negative sign. If your issue is that you want to be financially stable and you keep ruining every effort to make you get there, you have to go back to your first concept of money. How did your parents manage their finances? Most importantly, what did they tell you about people who had it and people who didn't? Many people who struggle financially will justify their place in life by disavowing money as a whole. They will say that all rich people are terrible. If you grew up with people who told you your entire life that people who have money are this way, guess what? You're going to resist having it. Your anxiety around the issue that you're self sabotaging is usually a reflection of your limiting belief. Maybe you associate being healthy with being vulnerable because you had a parent who was perfectly healthy when they suddenly fell ill. Maybe you aren't writing your magnum opus because you don't really want to write. You just want to be seen as successful because that will get you praise, which is typically what people revert to when they want acceptance but haven't gotten it. Maybe you keep eating the wrong foods because they soothe you, but you haven't stopped to ask what they have to keep soothing you from. Woo! Maybe you aren't really a pessimist, but don't know how to connect with people in your life other than by complaining to them. Woo! In order to reconcile this, you have to begin to challenge these pre existing ideas and then adopt new ones. You have to be able to recognize that not everybody with money is corrupt, not by a long shot. Even more importantly, given that there are people who use their money in selfish ways, it is even more important that good people with great intentions are fearless in pursuit of acquiring this essential tool to create more time, opportunity, and wellness for themselves and others. You have to recognize that being healthy makes you less vulnerable, not more. And that criticism comes with creating anything for the public and isn't a reason not to do it. You have to show yourself that there are many different ways to self soothe that are more effective than unhealthy food choices, and that there are far better ways to connect with others than through negativity. Once you begin to really question and observe these pre existing beliefs, you begin to see how warped and illogical they were all along, not to mention distinctly holding you back from your ultimate potential. Y'all, we are in the first chapter, and this literally is the the introduction and the first few pages of the first chapter of the book. I can't even imagine. I'm going to read this one other little section right here, and then we're going to talk for a few minutes. Self-sabotage comes from what's unfamiliar. Human beings experience a natural resistance to the unknown because it is essentially the ultimate loss of control. This is true even if what's unknown is benevolent or even beneficial to us. Self sabotage is very often the simple product of unfamiliarity. And it is because anything that is foreign, no matter how good, will also be uncomfortable. I want y'all to hear that. Anything that is foreign, no matter how good, will also be uncomfortable until it is also familiar. Anything that is foreign, no matter how good, will be uncomfortable until it is familiar. This often leads people to confuse the discomfort of the unknown with being wrong or bad or ominous. However, it is simply a matter of adjustment. Psychological adjustment. Gay Hendricks calls this your upper limit on your tolerance for happiness. Everyone has capacity for which they allow themselves to feel good. This is similar to what other psychologists refer to as a person's baseline or their set predisposition that they eventually revert back to, even if certain events or circumstances shift temporarily. Small shifts compounded over time can result in permanent baseline adjustments. However, they often don't stick because we come up on our limits. The reason we don't allow those shifts to become baselines is because as soon as our circumstances extend beyond the amount of happiness we're accustomed to, we find ways, both conscious and unconscious, to bring ourselves back to a feeling that we're comfortable with. We are programmed. Here's this is important. Y'all ready for this? TikTok, YouTube. Listen to this. This is so important. We are programmed to seek what we've known. Even though we think we're after happiness, we're actually trying to find whatever we're most used to. Again, we are programmed to seek what we've known. Even though when we think we're after happiness, we're actually trying to find whatever we're most used to. Self-sabotage comes from belief systems. Y'all, this is so good. So good. So there's nothing holding you back in life more than yourself, right? And in this chapter, we're not done the chapter. We have let me see how many more pages we've got to finish chapter 1. Wait until we start talking about disorganization. You know why I succeed a lot? Because I'm organized. I plan and plot out. I don't wait to the last minute to do stuff. I'm trying to tell y'all, I can't do it. I'm too busy for that. Oh, we're almost finished chapter 2. Y'all, we'll be finished chapter 2 in a few pages. This is so good. Okay? So, is the life you're living vastly different from the life that you want to have? Do you often hamper your efforts or ability to improve and grow by allowing your own discomfort or resistance to interfere? If your answer to either of these questions is a definite yes, you are likely a victim of self-sabotage. Weiss writes that while many people believe self-sabotage to be a result of low confidence, self-hatred, or even the absence of willpower, it is rather due to an unconscious need that is being fulfilled. Overcoming this isn't a small task. However, you can achieve this by reinventing yourself and increasing your resilience and your emotional intelligence. Self sabotage is not always obvious on the onset, right? And then self sabotage comes from unconscious negative associations. Self sabotage is a coping mechanism. I'm just kind of doing what we've read so far in review. And self sabotage comes from irrational fear. Self sabotage comes from what's unfamiliar. Self sabotage comes from our belief systems. How then we got to get out of denial. Let me see. I think I want to read this. It's important to identify the causes of your self-sabotage. If you don't, you'll continue to live in denial and settle for less than what you deserve. Weiss advises that you listen to what your inner voice has to say to you. Do you think you can do better than what you're currently doing? Do you think you deserve more than you're getting at the moment? Are you true to yourself and living your best life, making the most of every opportunity that comes your way? Do you often blame others for your shortcomings? Your answers to these questions will give you a good indication of whether or not you're being authentic. So here's the deal. If you're always faced with these kind of questions, something internally is going on because you shouldn't be focused on this all the time. And you keep finding yourself every month you get into a place or a pit. How about it could just be, especially for you women that have gone through menopause, you need to take a diary and take notice. Are you only feeling like that around a certain time of the month? What could it be that your hormone levels drop at a certain time of month and cause you to start doing all of this? When you're feeling like that during the month, because it's happening, let me tell you, I work with a lot of people. And once a month, I watch them go on a tangent like that for a couple of days. I know because I'm a coach, I can see it. I can see it in the behavior. I know when they're plugged all the way in and when they're not. I know when the plug is halfway in the wall. And if you keep finding yourself in this place, self-sabotage, or could it be your hormones raging? Once you come to the realization that you're not living the life that you've wanted for yourself and learn to accept this, you can find the inner peace that you need to take on your challenges to improve your life. And this is not just talking about money. This could be, why are you still looking at an overweight person in the mirror? Self-sabotage. What are the triggers? What is it that you keep soothing? Until you come to peace in here, this won't come into peace. Why do you keep allowing? Because the food is just so good, so we just keep eating it? Because what we do in the dark, everyone sees in the light. So accepting full accountability for your actions in life is the first step in healing yourself from self-sabotage. This will help you to understand what areas of your life you can work on improving. Weiss writes that not accepting an unhappy life is the greatest act of self-love. I promise you right now, y'all, I'm not accepting no foolishness. I'm not going to accept not being happy. And happiness for me is not contingent on something happening for me or to me. I am happy whether I got a lot of money or a little bit of money. I am happy when I'm healthy. I am happy when I'm growing. I am happy when I'm thriving. I am happy when I'm creative. I am happy. It has nothing to do with something happening for or to me. I don't need something to make me happy. I literally wake up happy every day. Every single day. I am happy. Let me get myself together in the morning because I don't like talking a lot when I first wake up. But I'm not like sad. I am happy every single day of my life because happiness is not contingent upon something happening. So Weiss writes that not accepting an unhappy life is the greatest act of self-love. And this starts by identifying the problems that you may have. What I did was I identified the problems that I had. And I continue to identify my whatever problems that arise or that I see within myself. I'm talking to myself about myself all the time. I hold me accountable so that no one else has to hold me accountable. And then if I feel like I might have been a little off, I ask, did it come off condescending, or did it come off a little mean, or did it come off because it certainly wasn't my intent. But if I'm a little off, I do ask. But I'm always like checking myself. Be as specific as possible. For example, hold on, you guys. I got to make sure I put this piece because, TikTok is like, you've been on here an hour. Do you wish to continue? Yes, I do. What's going on TikTok? We ain't go nowhere, okay? So, for example, don't just write money if you're having difficulty managing your finances. See, here's the problem. I'll ask people, well, what's your goal? How much money do you want to make? Don't tell me, oh, I want to get 5 customers this month. How much money do you want to make? Write it down. Why are we scared of the number? He just said, the book says right here, write down everything you're unhappy with in your life. Be as specific as possible. For example, don't just write down money. If you're having difficulty managing your finances, write down detail all the debt that you have, your income, and your spending habits. Or if you struggle with anxiety, write down the details of everything that causes you to worry or upsets you. Doing this will give you clarity on the problems that you're facing, which is vital in knowing what you need to do either to make peace with it or to overcome it. So here are the key takeaways. Here are the key takeaways, and I'm gonna give you a few things because this is we're done. I put the book down. This is the workbook. The key takeaways are: you are the biggest obstacle on your journey to success. We're our only obstacle. Not what somebody said about us, not what somebody's trying to do to us, not the fact that somebody doesn't like the fact that we are doing X, Y, and Z. And, well, they don't like that I'm doing X, Y, and Z. So they're acting like this and that. That's not your obstacle. You are your obstacle. Because why do you care so much about what somebody else thinks? If God is telling you to go do X, Y, and Z, what does it matter what somebody else thinks or says? Are they God? Why have you given a person that much control over you? You may sabotage yourself without realizing it. Self-sabotage may be an unhealthy coping mechanism, and your self-sabotage may stem from negative existing associations, fear of the unknown, and limiting beliefs. You need to become so fed up with your life and your unhappiness that you see no other option but to make changes. Now, I don't know if you all have the book. I bought the workbook that goes with this as well. We have to challenge our beliefs and associations. Pick one of your categories from the exercises above to start with, right? If you take all of them on at once, you might feel overwhelmed. So you're going to start with one of these exercises. And then challenge your validity by asking questions such as this. These are some of the questions that you have got to ask yourself. What supporting facts or proof do I have for this belief? Now, this is going to be on replay for you on YouTube, so you'll be able to go back and write these questions down. What supporting facts or proof do I have for this belief? Do I have any evidence that may counter this belief? Have I always had this belief? If not, can I pinpoint when I started to think in this way? What is the opposite of this belief? How would thinking the opposite impact my life? Is this belief helping me to reach my goals or holding me back? Why do I hold on to this belief? What would happen if I let go of it? And what would I say to a friend who had this belief? See, because we always have no problem telling other people what they should or should not do. But why we can't take our own advice for ourselves? So, negative existing associations and limiting beliefs are two of the biggest causes of self-sabotage. Before you move on to the next step on your path over your mountain, it's important that you not only identify them, but also address them. This will be uncomfortable and unpleasant. Take your time when doing this. Practicing self-awareness is vital in identifying your negative associations and limiting beliefs. Sit in a quiet, comfortable environment where you are free from distractions to do any of these 4 exercises. All right. Remember, you can go to my YouTube, Nina R. Moorer, right? You'll be able to go to my YouTube, especially if you're on TikTok, Nina R. Moorer, to go back if you do not have the workbook, to go back and listen to these questions. Exercises. Number 1, take your notebook and draw columns, one for each area that you want to work on. For example, your job, romantic relationships, your goals, finances, health, family, friends, and hobbies, or maybe your business, right? Create as many categories as you need. Next, think about each one of them and write down everything that comes to mind, particularly things that evoke strong emotions or have big influences on your life. Once you've completed your list, mark which ones will help you grow and which ones will limit you. All right? The second, now you're not doing all 4 of these. You can pick one of the 4 or you can do more than one. Number 2, another exercise you can do is assessing your typical behavior. Draw the same columns as you would in the exercise above and think of different negative scenarios that you encounter for each one of them. Briefly write down your scenario and then make notes of how you typically react to each of them. Next, think of how you would ideally like to respond. How is your reality different from your ideal? What beliefs or associations may be at play here? And take a clean sheet of paper and draw your columns again. Now, write the beliefs and associations for each of them. The third exercise focuses on the same areas and times when you feel most challenged. Again, use the same columns from the first exercise. Think about the times when you've struggled the most in each of them. What were the biggest obstacles that you had to overcome? What do you wish you could have done differently? Which continuous theme may be present throughout these challenges? And ask yourself, what may have contributed to you behaving in specific ways or making certain decisions? And number 4, have frank discussions with those closest to you about what they believe your beliefs or associations may be. They will view your shortcomings in a different way than you do and can bring amazing insights into your challenges. Be open minded when you do this and don't allow yourself to feel insulted by what they say. Instead, see it as a valuable contribution to your future success. Once you've identified some and hopefully most of your limiting beliefs and negative associations, you have the power to address and overcome them. Let's look at various strategies you can implement into your life to help you overcome them. And I already gave you the different questions, right? As you are going to change your beliefs and associations, you're going to counter your beliefs and associations. You're going to become an explorer. Your limiting beliefs and negative associations may have kept you from many different experiences in your life. Allow yourself to experience things you've never thought would be possible. This can be from traveling abroad to trying other activities or even just talking to people from different backgrounds. And then the last one would be meditation, which is a great tool for removing negative thoughts. So what I want you all to do is at night, if you want a great meditation before you go to bed, it would be the I Am meditation by Dr. Dwayne Dyer. If you put on like the 7-hour one and just let it play low, and you listen to it every single night when you're going to bed, you're supposed to fall asleep. I'm not telling you to stay up. I'm telling you to put it on. Your subconscious mind will hear it. Now, I'm going to tell you something. This is not for everybody. If you desire for your life to stay the same, don't listen to it. It's not for everybody. So I'm only giving this out because I only gave it to a few specific people. So I'm only giving this out to people who want to go ahead and stop having this self-sabotage. And I'm only giving this to people who really want to really elevate their lives, because it is not going to be your normal meditation. Okay? It's going to be a sound. It's going to be a series of sounds. And it's only for the mature. It is only going to be for the people who really are like, because you're going to listen to it. And if you get onto it and you be like, what is this she got us listening to? And you're not ready. Maybe you're not ready, and it's okay to not be ready. But for those of you who are really ready, you got to change your subconscious mind, because remember, the conscious and the subconscious mind are fighting. So I'm so grateful that you guys met me here as we're diving into the world of the mountain is you. Make sure that you are adding those hashtags on TikTok and on YouTube. Hashtag booktube, hashtag booktalk, and hashtag good reads. Put those in the hashtags, you guys. If this was the introduction and the start of chapter 1, I can only imagine where this is going from here. Make sure you are subscribing to my YouTube so that you get the notifications when I go live, all right? Or when I have any other videos that are posted there. Make sure you subscribe to @Nina R. Moorer, okay? Subscribe to my YouTube. Those are the hashtags right there. And then you want to make sure that you are subscribed to my YouTube @Nina R. Moorer. We are here every single Monday unless there's a major holiday, okay? Now, I want you to remember that, listen to this. Pay it forward this week. Be kind to one another. Do a good deed. And think about what we heard on this book, from this book tonight. Because guess what? All of us are going across that mountain, and we're going to go across that mountain together. All right, you guys, we're going to do it together. So always remember that God loves you. I love you. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. My desire is that we all get well and get wealthy together. And we're going to do it one growth period, one book at a time, as we're reading right now, The Mountain Is You by Brianna Weiss. We'll see you next Monday. Love you all. Mwah. See ya.